All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We will now reconvene the City Council meeting of Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. Clerk Fuentes, please call the roll.
Thank you, Council President. Council President Pro Tem LaCava,
Present.
Councilmember Campbell, Councilmember Whitburn,
Here.
Councilmember Foster, Councilmember Von Wilbert, Councilmember Lee,
Here.
Councilmember Campillo,
Here.
Councilmember Moreno,
Present.
and Council President Elo Rivera.
Present.
Also attending the meeting are Senior Chief Deputy City Attorney Heather Ferber, Independent Budget Analyst Charles Monica, Council Affairs Advisor in the Mayor's Office Cota Zeiser, and myself, your City Clerk, Diana Fuentes.
All right. Thank you, Deanna. Do you want to go over the public testimony procedures and order of business for the afternoon?
Thank you. I'll now go over how the public can offer their public testimony during this afternoon's meeting. If you're in person, please complete a speaker slip located at the entrance of chambers and place it on top of the box indicated at the high lectern. Please submit your speaker slips in a timely manner to ensure proper meeting management. Council ambassadors are available near the entrance of chambers and can assist with questions and speaker slips. No further in-person testimony will be taken once the council begins virtual testimony. If you would like to participate virtually, you can do so via the webinar information found on the agenda cover page. Members of the public who wish to provide virtual testimony must enter the virtual queue by raising their hand by either dialing *9 or pressing the raise your hand icon before the queue closes. The queue will close once the last virtual speaker finishes speaking or 5 minutes after in-person testimony ends, whichever occurs first. This afternoon, the agenda items that will be taken in the following order: Housing Authority minutes, Housing Authority non-agenda public comment, Housing Authority Item 1, which is an informational item, Item S500, which is also an informational item, Item 330, and Item 331. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. All right. We've got a quorum, and we will now adjourn as a City Council and convene the Housing Authority meeting, where we will begin with approval of Housing Authority minutes. Clerk, do we have any public comment on the Housing Authority minutes?
We will now begin. I did want to just note for the record that the item of the minutes did not receive any comments in favor or in opposition via our e-comment software. We do not have any public comment here within chambers. And for those attending virtually, we do have 2 people with their hand raised. I've started the 5-minute timer here in council chambers. I'm going with the original. If you can please speak 1 minute. The minutes being approved are for the meeting, apologies, July 30th, 2024.
Yes, I just would like to say that with the minutes, a lot of times it is very vague, like I tell you all the time. I think that there can be more written that would be more of an account of what happens. You do it for some items and not others. But also you were talking about being displaced from the flood and deducting FEMA from the people that were actually getting help from the flood. And I just wanted to saying what I said, that we should be not deducting the FEMA help from the help that the people are getting. They should be able to rebuild their lives and make sure that they can recoup everything that was lost. So when you're deducting the FEMA money from that, it doesn't allow them to necessarily get all the funds that they should, and we should be making sure that their suffering doesn't continue. So that's it.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Lori Saldana. If you can please unmute.
Hello.
Yes, please proceed.
Yes, thank you. So at the last meeting, there was a loan recommendation for the Rose Creek Village, and I believe that was approved, and I hope that moves forward. We desperately need affordable housing, and there were waivers made to height limit and other local issues that I think San Diegans are willing to make accommodations for affordable housing when in fact it produces the results to get people into housing. So we are often asked to waive requirements, and I'll talk more about this when we get to some of the other agenda items, but
our homes. So I would like to make sure that the flood victims are not forgotten and that we continue to be a reminder that we are all taxpayers in here and just want to be able to live in San Diego like everyone else. That's it.
Thank you. That does conclude public comment on the Housing Authority minutes.
All right, thank you, Clerk. We're going to do something a little bit unorthodox because we've got some changes happening. We're actually going to adjourn the Housing Authority again, reconvene City Council. We're going to take a short recess. Staff has an update for us and the public on item 330, and we want to give them an opportunity to make sure that they've got that they can provide us an update that is thorough and accurate. So rather than rush that, we'll take a quick pause. They should be back to us in a few minutes with that update on 330. So we'll take what should be a relatively short recess to give staff an opportunity to give us an update on item 330 before we reconvene the Housing Authority meeting. It'll probably make sense. No guarantees. It'll probably make sense once staff provides the update. All right, thank you, everyone.
While the council is on recess, I did just want to take this opportunity to go over, we do have a large amount. Sure. We do have a large. We do have a large amount of speakers who are speaking on the same topic. So I did just want to know that if there are 8 or more speakers on the same topic, it is a maximum of 16 minutes, which means that if we do get 8 people talking about rent control, for example, then we will ask all those speakers to come up and line up in the mic, and we can put 16 minutes allocated between everybody. So it may be a little less than 2 minutes per person because it is 16 minutes per topic. So as the speaker slips continue to come in, I just wanted to explain that it is 16 minutes per topic, but we are being like the rent control is a different topic than say housing rent increases. Housing rent increases is going to be one topic, rent control is a separate topic. So just so that you're all aware that we may be splitting or getting to the max allotted time of 16 minutes per topic. Thank you. And my staff is also in the back, and I'm happy to go down and speak to anybody during the recess if you have any further questions about public comment.
All right, we will reconvene the council meeting. Clerk, if you'd please call the roll.
Thank you, Council President. Council President Pro Tem LaCava.
Present.
Councilmember Campbell. Councilmember Whitburn.
Here.
Councilmember Foster.
Here.
Councilmember Von Wilpert. Councilmember Lee. Councilmember Campillo.
Here.
Councilmember Moreno.
Present.
And Council President Elo Rivera.
Present. All right, we received a request to have item 330 returned to staff. We have now as an update from staff on why that request was made and potentially as well as a projected timeline for when that item might be returned to council.
Good afternoon. My name is Laura Gates. I work for the Development Services Department as a Deputy Director overseeing the Project Management Division. This is in relation to the appeal for the Klauber Development Project. We did receive what we thought was one appeal. In fact, we received 2 appeals. There was some confusion with who wrote the check and which appeal that went to. And so we are realizing at a very late notice, and we truly apologize for this error, that the matter needs a little bit more further clarification to understand where the check actually went and bring it back to a notice public hearing, probably in November.
All right. Thank you so much. Councilmember Foster, I want to make sure you have an opportunity to make any comments or ask any questions you have about returning the item to staff, if you'd like.
No, just thank you for the clarification. We did have, I do want to acknowledge the community members that have come down to speak to this item, and my sincere apologies. Wish we could have worked this out prior to you taking the time, coming down and being here. But we will definitely get this back on the agenda as indicated by city staff. So thank you for your continued engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Foster. All right. Thank you, Ms. Gates, for the update there. So item 330 is therefore returned to staff. If you were here for that item, hopefully that's a little bit of explanation and context. And if not, then I would ask that you contact the appropriate department. Sir, I'm not doing back and forth here. I'll ask that you contact the appropriate department so they can fill you in with additional details. With that, we will again adjourn council, return to our Housing Authority agenda, where we will move to, what do we have next? Okay. Our minutes?
The voting.
Voting on the minutes, yes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes? Council President Pro Tem LaCava?
I'll move the minutes.
Thank you. Happy to offer a second there. We've got a motion and a second to approve the Housing Authority minutes. And seeing no additional requests to speak, clerk, if you please call the roll.
I'm sorry, the voting system, please cast your vote. And that passes unanimously 8-0 with Councilmember Campbell absent.
Thank you. All right, that then brings us to non-agenda public comment for the Housing Authority. Clerk, please proceed.
Thank you. Per Rule 2.7, non-agenda public comment is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on items that are not on the agenda but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Housing Authority. Each speaker will have 2 minutes. Unless there are 8 or more speakers on that subject, it will be a maximum of 16 minutes. If you are in chambers, please submit your speaker slip. If you are joining us virtually, please raise your hand to speak by tapping the raise your hand icon, or if you are a call-in participant, *9. We do have several large groups speaking in chambers. I will be taking it by subject matter, starting with rent control, Ali Hambani. My apologies for come forward. And we do have, and I'm sorry for those sitting in the front row, there are yellow reserve seats right at the front for people to sit in so that they can come up to the front mic. If I can ask you just to move over a little bit to not be in the yellow reserve seats. Understood, sir. Just over a little bit so that we can have people line up for their reserved speaking time. You will be called upon. Ali, please come up to the mic. After that, we have Josephine Harper Thornton. If you can please come up to the yellow reserve seats. After that, Gregory Morales, Rafael Bautista, Jose Vasquez, and Said. If you can all please come forward to the yellow reserve seats at the front. Ali, you'll have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Good afternoon.
Please speak into the mic. My apologies, so that the higher one, just so that the people on the Zoom can hear you as well.
Yes. Hi, thank you for seeing us and me with a bunch of our senior citizen people who live in this complex, and they have been raising our rent within 2 months. They gave us a notice and they asked us they're going to raise our rent from $13.52, which we pay now, but in 2 months, they said it at the beginning in October, they're going to raise it to $1,620. And then a couple of weeks later, they sent us a letter and they said, well, we're going to bring that rent to 1,554. We are all senior citizens. We live on a fixed income. We don't know what to do. Please make this happen for senior citizens, disabled. We don't know what to do. We're going to be homeless like everybody else in the San Diego downtown. I'm speaking for all of us. Please help us. Have some control on the rent. We don't know what to do. We're just coming to you because one day you're all going to be older like us. And you would ask people to help you. Please don't let us lose our dignity and reverence and, our homes. That's all I could say.
Thank you. Next is Josephine Harper Thornton.
I'm here on behalf of some of the tenants that live in the affordable housing in Forest Ranch. The investors raised our rents about 6 months ago. They wanted to raise it about 20%. We collectively were able to get the investors to lower that increase. However, they once again came back and said we're going to raise it again, less than a year later. And now altogether it will be a 22% rate increase. Most people don't get a 22% raise. I work for the school district. I got a 3% raise. Now, if I was the superintendent, 3% would be a pretty good amount of money. But when you only make $2,500 a month, that's nothing. These type of increases will push more people to become unhoused unless something is done to stop the large rent increases. The most vulnerable population are the elderly and the disabled. Now, for me, I can go work a little bit more. I can go do another little job. But some of these people who are living on Social Security, they don't have that as a guideline. So I think that the affordable housing has had a loophole for that 10% rule that they can't go over. And I think that needs to be addressed to get them out of that loophole.
Thank you for your comments. Gregory Morales.
I may like to cede my time to Rafael Bautista.
I'm sorry, you cannot cede time during non-agenda public comment. You can speak for yourself.
Okay, well then I'll do that.
Thank you.
In 2004, when I was doing my dissertation, I presented this thing about the cascading economic failures. And what happens is we're seeing, and I did a cartoon of a mother and a child crying as the bulldozers are tearing down Barrio Logan because that's what they were pushing, the Barrio Logan Community Plan update. And it has happened. The homelessness and poverty populations have grown, and now we're at records. Every year, more and more homeless, more and more people living impoverished. And it's going to continue to grow because there's a dichotomy between values of earned wage incomes and prices being charged for rent and food. So the choice is easy. If you don't do rent control, you'll continue to have increasing populations of poverty and homelessness. And it's almost by design unless you take action. Thanks.
Thank you. Next is Rafael Bautista.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here. I'm the director of the San Diego Tenants Union. I'm here with tenants from Rancho Santa Fe. They live at Fairbanks, and this is affordable housing. Also representing tenants in District 4. Right? I think Mr. Foster met with some of our members because they're also managed by ConAm, right? And ConAm is engaging in practices throughout the city, which means down in the low-income neighborhoods, in the middle-income neighborhoods like Mission Valley, and also in the higher-income neighborhoods, higher opportunity zones like Forest Ranch. And they're gouging people, right? We were approached by tenants facing 20 to 30% rent increases. On this increase, there was an increase previous to this earlier this year. And these are the same companies like Chelsea, who's one of the owners, that are being rewarded by the mayor with government bonds to build more affordable housing at the same time that they're telling us that they're creating the solutions, they're actually creating the problems. There's seniors that we've already helped earlier this year in City Heights that went through this. They went from a 25% rent increase down to a 7% rent increase after a couple of rescissions. And we all want fair treatment, right? So seniors that are in this affordable housing complex aren't getting fair treatment. They're getting rent increases that are combined over 10% in a 12-month period. Now, we know that there's advancing legislation that was just passed at the state level, but that's not what I'm here for. What I'm trying to say is that in the cases where the developers are supposed to be the best mannered, most ethical organizations, they're the ones that are most egregiously harming our community. And they're doing it intentionally, and they're doing it with our resources and exploiting our people. If this rent increases would have gone into effect, we would have had more people end up homeless, right? What we're trying to fight with this affordable housing developments, right? So I want y'all to reprioritize. We need support for Prop 33, and we need real universal rent control in San Diego. And we think it's time. We think it's beyond due because the bad actors continue to show us that.
Thank you, Jose Vasquez. And after that, it'll be Said.
I'm gonna be very short on
Hello?
these.
Can you hear me?
This is something that has been going on for years. It's not something new. So we hope, we the people, wants all you guys to do something about it. I think it's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Said.
I just want to say that I've been living at Fairbanks Ridge since the first day it opened in 2006. And they keep raising the rent for no reason. They've raised my rent $400 in the last year and a half. And they're not doing anything in the complex as far as maintenance or anything. You can send somebody, investigator, to come and check. And they say that the reason they're raising it is because of the maintenance and everything, which is not true. And the other thing is that the reason that there's not that many people show up from the complex, I live in a 202 unit, and there's probably about 1,500 people living there, which is not supposed to be. They're living, they don't have a lease, they're not on the lease, and they live there. And Conam knows about it, and they don't do anything about it, because the reason that nobody shows up, because they don't want to expose themselves. 2-bedroom apartment, 6 people live in it. 3-bedroom, 8, 9 people, 10 people sometimes. And that's one of the reasons you don't see a big crowd here. They're not going to show up, because if there's 6 people, if my rent is going to be $1,900, you divide that with 6 people, it's like $300. They're not going to complain. They should even be living there. And Conam and, what do you call it? Chelsea, they're getting away with it. That should be stopped. There has to be a way to stop these people from doing that. It's not fair to the rest of us. It honestly isn't. It's just a disaster. There's nowhere to park. There's nowhere to do anything.
Thank you for that concluding comment. If I can have those in the reserve seats, please move to other seats so we can call the next group of people. Samuel Williams, if you can please come up to the microphone. After that, if we can have Mary Owen, Galina, Nina Sanchez, and Janice Ganizaro, please come up to the front row. You'll have 2 minutes. Yeah, please proceed.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, council members, for allowing us to come in and voice this disagreement. I really want to say thank you to each and every one of you, because I know you guys have a tough job too. I'm Samuel Williams again. I'm a Vietnam era veteran. I didn't go to Vietnam, but I served during that time. And I was an X-ray technician, and I X-rayed some of the prisoner of war that came home from the Hanoi Hilton in 1973. That's my claim to fame, and it's the thing I'm most proud of in my life, even more than my children. This is really unfair, this price increase. And the truth is, once it hits me, It's going to wipe out all my Social Security within I will have $300 a month left out of my Social Security. That's how much this increase is going to cost me personally. We're elderly. We live in a home where they came in and built multi-million-dollar homes right across the street from us, literally. Those homes were built about 5-6 years ago, and the sales price started at $5 million. Nothing we can do about that, but that's how they base our rent increases, is on the wage, on the earnings from our neighbors. That's unfair. That really is. We're not $1 million people. We're old. We're Social Security people. And now this rent is here. I will have $301 left in my Social Security after I pay my rent. Sorry, guys, that's just not enough to live on. Not here in San Diego. When we moved in, I know I'm probably running out of my time here. When we moved in, they promised us that the rent would never go up. And if they did, it would only go up for a few dollars.
Thank you for that concluding comment.
Thank you for listening to me. I'm sorry I went over my.
Mary Owen?
Hi. I live in the same complex as Sam, which is Fairbanks Square. And I moved in there. I was one of the first people to move in. And at that time, there was just a lot of open space around, and it was billed as affordable senior housing. And like Sam said, we were told the rents would probably not go up. But most of our neighbors were coyotes. Then they came in and built all these very expensive homes. And so now they put us in with the median income, and we're trying to survive on Social Security. And this, it was one thing when it was going up, $70 a month each year or something, but all of a sudden to be well over 200 an increase in just in the 1-bedroom apartments, it's just exorbitant. It's something that we can't afford. I mean, I'm going to be left with nothing out of my Social Security at this point. And at 80 years old, I don't think that there's a lot of people that are going to hire a broken down 80-year-old person to try to come up with enough money just to make my rent. So I'm with the rest of them here. Something really needs to be done, because I can't, if it's supposed to be affordable senior housing, how do we get put in with all of these multi-million-dollar homes? So I'm hoping that you guys, somebody up here can help us, to fight this. I can understand an increase, but something within reason would certainly be a lot better than, I think it's, it went up like 21 or 22% this year. So thank you for your time, and I certainly hope that somebody can help us out.
Thank you. Next is Galina.
So, Dana,
One of our neighbors gave me a letter.
Sorry, I can have one of my staff members go out there and talk to you about the letter.
Okay.
Your time has concluded. Thank you.
thank you. Just to know, this apartment complex is either on the border of my district or in my district, and my staff is up in the lobby here. I'm Marnie, I'm our council member for District 5. My staff is up in the lobby here, and they'd love to talk to you. I'll take your names and see if we can get you in assistance with Chelsea, but know that everyone in the lobby is waiting to talk to you if you'd like to talk to my staff. Thank you.
Next is Galina.
Hey everybody, I apologize. I bothered you today. I'm sorry about my broken English. My Ukrainian is much better. But if I come to America, somebody tell me, first one, you have to follow American law, rule, and regulation. I did this. Second one, even you earn 1 penny, you have to pay tax. I did this. This is like prayer. Now I'm old, I'm not feel good, and I don't know what I have to do. every year, the price for apartment up and up. Reason, water and garbage. We all old. We're not sitting in the shower all day and water foul. Garbage, many of us have this, like this garbage because somebody not cooking. Just eating from the can or something else. From December 29, 2014 until today, I live in my apartment 9 years, 8 months, 2 weeks, and 5 days. For this time, landlord get from me $128,906. What I have to do now? My Social Security increased 3.2% per year. And rent, 15%. Please.
Thank you. Thank you for that concluding comment. Thank you. Nina Sanchez? Nina? Please come forward.
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank every officials who took their time to hear our concerns. We are residents of Fairbanks Square, managed by Conam Manager Corporation. I will speak for me, yet my concerns are not different from my neighborhood who become family and friends. Our attraction to reside in Fairbanks Square is their enticement that it is 55 plus community and affordable housing. We are on fixed income, and Fairbanks Square required that applicants must be income threshold, which label us low-income seniors who need help for their housing needs. Every year, Conam management has been increasing our rents, which is already a dent on our monthly income. Many of us depend on Social Security, which doesn't catch up with today's inflation. Conam management is now increasing our rates 20%, and that is the reason we are here today. We would like you to help us in the situation that we are facing, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Janice?
Of Fairbanks Square. When our rent went up and the letter came out, the thing that's the hardest to swallow is that it's because each year the government publishes its area median gross statistics. And because this area's gross income has gone up, we need to pay more rent. I don't know about anybody else's income, but our rent went up between 20 and 35%. And I don't know how many people's gross income has gone up 25 to 30%. We're not asking for charity. We're just asking that our rents be in line with what's fair and how much people's income actually have gone up. I mean, even things like our washing machines and dryers have gone up to the point where it's like 20% difference from what we were paying a year ago. It costs us $5 to do a load of wash and dry. And that's just ridiculous for everything to go up like that. Again, we're just not asking for charity. We're just asking for what's fair. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can ask the following individuals to please come up: Jacqueline Marshall, Ashley Manzano, Judy Banks, and Jessica Calix. Please come up to the yellow reserved seats at the front, and Jacqueline, you can come up to the microphone. Please proceed.
Okay, I'm here representing some of the flood victims that are still not in their homes. A lot of people were asked to leave the hotels for different reasons, and so they found other ways to live. And now these people need help. They're still flood victims. They haven't gotten to their homes yet, but one of the persons I'm talking about is my neighbor. She has a son with special needs. She needed to get out the hotel, but because she left before May 23rd, the housing won't help her. And so I'm just here, we're still flood victims. It's still happening. We still have people not in their homes. We have some charities that are helping, but the money we got from FEMA and so on wasn't near enough to even help. And so I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the Housing Authority, because I think it wasn't fair how they cut it off at a certain age certain month when there were people that really needed them, and now they can't get any help.
Very quickly, I believe someone might have left their glasses on their glasses case.
A glass case there.
Want to make sure somebody. Thank you. Clerk, please proceed.
Thank you, Council President. Ashley Manzano. Please proceed when ready.
I don't know what paper I needed to sign, so I just chose the yellow because at the end of the day, I hope our lives get as bright as the color sheet. My name is Ashley Manzano, flood victim on Beta Street in Shelltown. I'm supposed to be at the ER right now because I just found out I'm a high risk on getting blind in the next few months. But I am here today because flood victims still need help and our voices will still be shown. You will be amazed on how many new flood victims our nonprofits find every day. It's not fair that there is no funding for the people who weren't part of the ETL program. I was part of the ETL program and my family is still struggling, so I can only imagine them. I'm still house hopping with friends and it's tiring and my mental health is starting to show as it declines. Please just give any funds left to our nonprofits. It is 9 months and I hope to see my house complete before the possibility of me going blind. Tired of seeing my uncle who's schizophrenic homeless on the streets in National City who can be dead at any moment. Tired of my grandma not living her last years comfortably and my aunt in many of the shelters. Tired of all of us not getting the help we deserve and need. Tired of the system failure we live in.
Thank you. Next is Judy Banks.
Good afternoon, good morning, whatever it is. To the city of San Diego, we need help. We have been out of our homes since January 22nd. And it's almost like you've forgotten that we had this problem. There's people that have not even cleaned out their homes. And most of us are senior citizens. I happen to be blessed to be back in my home. But somebody has got to speak for all of these senior citizens that are out there suffering. I have been in and out of the urgent care and emergency, probably because I'm just overwhelmed with everything that we hear and that we don't hear. This is what I think is getting us. We don't hear nothing from the city. And another thing is that all of these people are giving push out dates, and all of a sudden, no one's there to help. If it wasn't for the nonprofits out here helping us, then we would be really bad off. We have got to get the help for these senior citizens that are still in these homes that have not even got them cleaned out yet. Listen, we need some help. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jessica Calix.
Hi, I'm back. My name is Jessica Calix, flood survivor from January 22nd. I'm one of the 3/4 of the flood survivors affected that received $0 from the city. $7 million was allocated in Housing Commission knowingly left us all out of the program. I'm a single mom, I'm a small business owner, and for some reason, I don't qualify for any help. My neighbors don't qualify for any help. Like, what's going on? We've talked about this so many times. We've sent pictures, we've emailed, we've begged, we've cried, we've been angry. What else do we need to do? Obviously, you guys don't care. Many nonprofits are helping us. Some do photo ops, pretend like they're helping us. We're literally on our own. Why? Does anybody care? I mean, what is San Diego becoming? We're in a housing crisis. This is what I have to look forward to. I'm going to be back here in 40 years begging for some kind of like legislature that's going to keep me in a home. Like, how hard do we have to fight just for some basic human rights? Like, housing is a human right. When are we going to do something different? That's it.
If I can ask the following individuals to please come up to the front row in the yellow reserve seats: Sam Naghavian, Judith Barosik, and Carly. Sam, you can come up to the microphone.
Good afternoon. I'm Sam Nagavian. I've been living since 2014 in Fairbanks Square, and now at the Fairbanks Terrace 1. I got first letter on June 28, 2024, based on increase of rent from 1,320 to 1,620 per month. That almost 300. It means 22nd and 0.73%. I got another letter dated July 23rd and saying we are reciting. It means canceling rent increase notice you previously received. After a while, I received a letter dated August 29 saying my rent will be 1,445 from October 1st, 2024. As you know, most of the tenants are living on Social Security benefits and are low income. According to the Social Security cost of living rate for 2024, their income have received by only 3.2%. There is a big difference between these two figures. I draw your attention to this article of rule or law of the state of the California under Tenants Protection Act, AB 1482. You can only increase 5% plus consumer price index or inflation, CPI. It means 3.2% plus 5%, therefore you can increase 8.5% for the year. It means about the rent control.
Thank you for that concluding comment. If you have any additional written comments, my staff can take them to distribute them to council.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Judith?
Thank you for your time. I'm like with the rest of the seniors here. We're all hurting. We are responsible citizens. We've raised our family. We try to raise good citizens, good children. We volunteered in the schools. We volunteered in the hospitals. We helped at the voting booth. And now we're in a situation that we just didn't feel like we would be in. We raised our children to serve defending our country. Some of them did not come home. So we feel we deserve just more than what we're getting. Some of our people in our complex, the rent that they're paying right now takes every bit of their Social Security. And if that rent is increased, you're going to be adding to the homeless, people with wheelchairs and with canes. And I don't believe this is what San Diego is all about. I don't believe this is what the United States is all about. I think we care for our people. We need to just step up to the plate. Sometimes it's hard to put yourself in other people's shoes. But if you do that and you just think about, you get a slip of paper in your door at 5 o'clock Friday, when you know the office is closed, and that you have a rent increase of $321. People are in shock. People are crying. People are having, even to this day, health issues regarding this stress. As citizens, as seniors, we don't handle stress very well. And this just isn't it's not the way to treat people. I know that you're all better than this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Carly. Carly Gadberry. Are you here? Carly Gadberry. Next is Joy Senada. After Joy, we'll have Lori Saldana and then Maria Romero. If you can please start coming up to the front row. Last call for Carly. Last call for Carly. Okay. Ms. Saldana, if you can please start coming up to the front row. And Ms. Senada, you can come up to the microphone.
Thank you, City Clerk Fuentes. My topic is homeless. Michael Smullins, UT article of 9/15/24 has this title: San Diego can't afford to stall on homeless shelter fix. After 17 years working with the homeless crisis in city government, a light bulb went off in my mind after I heard the Port of San Diego and what they did with the encampment in the Chula Vista area. Asylum seekers there were removed and given housing placement. The San Diego homeless people were asked to leave, to move out of the area. Here is my sad thought. Our San Diego resident homeless people make no positive contribution to the city, to its residents, and especially to its economic environment. Instead, they complicate the system's workings with more expensive needs that over many years of budget deficits have been impossible to meet or solve. They are elderly, they are sick, they are disabled, they are addicted, they are traumatized from very dysfunctional family and cultural experiences. Smullins ends his article with this, and I quote, "But the reality is dodging that bullet, and it will keep the city where it is now on homeless, hanging on by its fingernails." This is not the end of my comments. I will go to part 2 on the update. So thank you for listening. And this is something for one of you who would like it.
Lori Saldana.
Listening to these comments reminds me of what they tell you when there's a problem with the airplane. You have to put your own mask on first to help the people around you. And I think all of the people in the room today are experiencing a plane going down. They're the passengers. They're trying to put on their mask and they're trying to help people around them by being here and testifying today. But the fact is that even if they end up in a shelter, if they lose their housing for reasons that they've all described about the increases in rental costs and other costs of living, the sad thing is the city is not providing a safe place for them, a safe landing. Even if they survive the crash, they have nowhere to go. And we can see that on a daily basis where, actually I wanted the other image, I apologize for the confusion. We have a supposedly safe camping site where somebody who went in for safety and security ended up passing away and then was not even discovered for days. And the reason he was discovered are pretty disturbing, because basically his body was decomposing in the tent where he was lying when he died. So we are in an emergency. Housing insecurity is a public health crisis. It's not just a matter of people not having a place to go. It's all the health needs that go around with that. And The people who are trying to support them are essentially caregivers. And historically, caregivers, they're not paid. They tend to be people who are themselves often struggling, but they've experienced support from others and they know how essential and important it is. But I will tell you, as someone who has served both at the state level on housing and also on the ground as a volunteer, we are burned out, folks. We are really burned out. And it's harder and harder to keep our own masks on. And so I applaud the people who came here today to testify. I don't think it's lack of knowledge that's keeping you from acting. I think, though, it is a lack of planning. And I encourage you to develop some plans. Thank you.
Maria Romero.
Hello, everybody. My name is Maria Romero. I'm here to talk about human rights. And I think I don't need to have a special legal status to come over here to talk to you. Because behind me, there are hundreds of women like me, single mothers, a lot of them, or single fathers too, as in my community. And I live in City Heights, one of the most vulnerable areas. And yes, Conam is my property management too. I've been suffering this month the third increase of the rent, in my case, in a 27%, which is totally unfair. I don't think we gotta suffer this kind of increases just because we don't have the numbers clear. I'm wondering, and I gotta admit that I need to do my work, especially in budget analysis, because I don't understand why is it allowed to apply the aerial medium income to increase our rent when what we're paying for is the public services as water, sewer, and trash. Why is not measured in order to keep in a percentage that can be distributed in the community in order that we can pay that increase instead of paying in comparison to an income that most of us were not getting? So you guys are taking that income as the basis of an increase that we do not have in the packets. We do not have that money. So the numbers are playing in the favor of the investors and the lows and the loops and everything. I want to ask too, and leave it for the analyst and each one of you as a council members. I would like to know if the companies are applying the price fixing software, this famous software that is being used in different parts of the United States. I'm not done, but here is the rest of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is my hope. Thank you.
Would you like to submit your questions? We're starting the 5-minute timer, going to those participating remotely, starting with Blair Beekman. If you can please unmute.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thanks for the meeting today. Thanks a lot for the public comment. It was really a good learning process for myself. I wanted to comment on a procedural matter about when items are removed, or like for this committee purpose, or for the regular agendas, that the Brown Act very specifically states that if items have not been agendized or seen at a public meeting before, they have to have public comment time. You can't just take away the public comment. But if they have had public comment, or if they have had an agenda appearance already at a public meeting, then they can be removed without future public comment. I thought I would offer that as a procedural matter at this time for future reference. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the original. If you can please unmute.
Yeah, that item should have actually still been able to be addressed in the next, when you adjourn and go back to city council. It shouldn't be something that you can take off of the agenda last minute.
You got to speak to the housing authority.
Sean, this is non-agenda.
It is non-agenda, and you are
Yeah, and I can mention that. You can't.
Ma'am, you're quite literally speaking to an item that was on a different.
Not this agenda.
Okay, all right.
It's for the city council. So it's totally different.
Please proceed.
All right, I'm going to. And that's what's so sad, is that you love to silence people. You love it. And these people have come in here today to redress their grievances and address you guys because of the things that have been happening with the flooding and so many different things causing them to lead them to be homeless or they're suffering. And because you don't want to hear from all of them, you're silencing them to a certain amount of time because they all want to talk about the same thing. And then you're trying to silence me because I'm bringing up something that's in the other meeting. That's a whole other council. But you can sit there and that's like your main goal. And that's what's so sad is that you sit there and you perpetrate as though you like care what the people say. You don't, because you silence them on a regular basis. And people are suffering, Sean. They should be able to come here and have their 2 minutes and talk about what they need to. Because they're telling personal experiences. Nobody's saying the same exact experience. But just because it's under the umbrella of something else, you use that to actually silence and minimize what they're experiencing. And it's sad. And that's what people need to understand. You guys come to these people, they don't care. They don't. And you can see it by these types of things. You have to understand that. So when we come to these people and thinking, oh, they're going to do something, they won't. Because they have their own agendas and they don't care about actually the suffering that people go through on a daily basis because of the negligence that the city has been engaged in for decades. And you guys act like, oh, it's not us, it's the people before us. No, it's still you. And it's exactly what the people need to see so they know exactly who we're dealing with.
Your time has concluded. Next is John Brady. If you can please unmute. John Brady, I can unmute for you. There you go.
Yes, thank you. John Brady here. Good afternoon, council members. I was invited to attend a press conference on Monday morning. I was grateful to see Councilmember Henry's representative there. I was shocked to learn that via Con-Am Management and Chelsea Investments, one of our supposed affordable housing developers, had raised rents 3 times this year, 13%, 17%, and now 23%. I did the math. That's over 60% increase in less than 1 year. First off, we should not be doing any business with Chelsea, period, moving forward until they rescind these rent increases. That's outrageous. I spoke to an affordable housing developer. They're struggling, costs are up, but they're not doing this. Theirs is gouging. This is investors taking advantage of our poorest people, and we should not be doing business with them. I also want you to look out, especially if you've been defining the homeless population by drugs, alcohol, and mental health. This is probably what everybody looked like when they became homeless or before. And they will look like what we see on our streets and are commonly referred to as the homeless, but they're the chronically homeless that we've left out for way too long. We're going to be addressing this at World Homeless Day on October the 10th on the South Lawn. I hope that you will all join us and learn more about the tragedy of what happens to your health once you become homeless. But for now, we must do something. We must put extraordinary pressure on anyone who's gouging our most vulnerable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The 5-minute timer has concluded. We have one additional speaker with 2 hands raised. Martin Eder, if you can please unmute. Martin Eder.
Can you unmute me?
You are unmuted.
You're good. Thank you very much. Martin Eder with Activist San Diego, and I attended the rally at the center apartment complex that Maria Romero invited us to, and together with District 4 representative toured the terrible conditions of this apartment where they have raised the rent on everybody except the section people by more than 50%, on 60%, as John Brady said. Just the day before, the railing in one of the cement walkway was turned.
Your connection's getting a little worse. If you'd like to maybe speak closer into the device. Please continue. Martin? Martin?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you better.
My apologies. So one of the things that the tenants showed us, besides a lot of places of kind of rat infestation and cockroaches, was a place that the rusted railing on concrete steps had fallen over on a lady, and they had been put back with zip ties to secure it. It is absolutely unconscionable that these rent increases by Con Am and Chelsea are allowed to happen in our society, creating new homelessness and great expense for the city and the destruction of our communities as a result. It's got to stop. Vote yes on Prop 33 and support the tenants.
Thank you for that concluding comment. That does conclude your time, and that concludes Housing Authority non-agenda public comment. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Do we have any Housing Authority member non-agenda public or non-agenda comment? Councilmember Von Wilper.
Thank you. I want to thank Lisa Jones as well, the Housing Commission Executive Director, for being here. We have gotten in contact. We're going to hopefully be meeting with the residents in District 5 who are struggling from the rent increases, but we'll be in contact. I wish we could pass a law right now to say they shouldn't increase your rate, but we don't have that authority, but we can put pressure on the company. So thank you for coming here today, and we'll be in contact.
Thank you, Councilmember Von Wilper. I want to also say thank you to the folks who came down here to share your stories with us. I know this morning we heard from hotel workers who are fighting to make enough money to get by and keep a roof over their head. We're hearing from seniors who are struggling to get by on fixed incomes. I know it's just words until you see the action. I do want you to know that we do hear you. I am glad that we've created programs like the Housing Instability Prevention Program that provides shallow subsidies to seniors who are in similar positions. I recognize that is a Band-Aid. Band-Aids are important. I want you all to know that it's stories like these that will certainly be top of mind as we advocate for even more funding for homelessness prevention programs like that to ensure that until all the legislative fixes are made and the system is operating in a way which provides affordable housing to everyone in our community, we're going to need to do more to fill the gaps, especially for seniors and others who are on fixed incomes. So I want you to know that programs exist. We need to grow those programs. And again, the stories we've heard today and throughout the years will certainly motivate my office prioritizing that once again in this upcoming budget cycle. So thank you, everyone. With that, we will now move to our first Housing Authority item, item HA1. Clerk, if you'd please introduce that item.
Item HA1 is an informational item. It's the informational report from the Housing Authority Executive Director. If you'd like to speak on this item, please be sure to submit your speaker slip to the high lectern. And if you are participating remotely, please be sure to raise your hand by pressing *9 or the raise your hand icon. Thank you.
All right. Once our presenter is ready, Ms. Jones, if you'd like to let us know how much time you would like for your report.
Good afternoon, council members. Thank you. I'm Lisa Jones, Housing Authority's Executive Director and President and CEO of the San Diego Housing Commission. Joining me today is Azucena Valladolid, our Executive Vice President of Rental Assistance and Workforce Development. We'll need about 12 minutes for our presentation.
Thank you.
The Housing Commission has been collaborating with the city's Homeless Strategies and Solutions Department, or HSSD, to identify potential sites and service providers for additional homelessness shelters. I have a brief update for you this afternoon on our efforts, and per council direction in late July, the city is bringing an update on short-term shelter strategies to council next week, and we will be here as well. In late June, the Housing Commission issued 2 requests for qualifications, one to identify sites that could accommodate shelter operations of a variety of sizes and populations, and one to gauge the capacity of experienced service providers to operate shelter programs in the city. Our RFQs are open indefinitely to allow us to continue to receive responses on an ongoing basis. Additionally, the Housing Commission's Real Estate Division has searched for and identified potential sites for shelter operations. These sites require initial vetting by our real estate team to determine their potential feasibility before the city's staff performs more comprehensive analysis of these locations as possible shelter sites. To date, Housing Commission and HSSD staff have visited 5 sites, one identified through the Housing Commission's RFQ process, and 4 properties that the Housing Commission's real estate staff have identified. And we, in fact, are touring more sites next week as well, since this report. We are working as expeditiously as possible while exercising diligence and prudence in assessing options for short-term shelter solutions that meet the needs of people experiencing homelessness and are cost-efficient measures for the city's determinations. We will continue to do so and provide viable proposals to HSSD to determine next steps as quickly as possible. I'm now going to hand it over to Azucena Valladolid, who's been leading our efforts on storm response.
Hello, good afternoon. The next few slides provide updated data about our flood recovery program for displaced residents. The data are also available on a dashboard report we have posted on the Housing Commission's website on our At a Glance page under the About Us menu. We'll be focusing on a few key details this afternoon. We accepted applications for assistance from our flood recovery program through August 31st. The funding the county allocated to launch this program was based on the number of City of San Diego residents that the county verified as eligible for and participating in the county's emergency temporary lodging program at the time. The City Council also allocated funding in the fiscal year 2025 budget to support flood assistance efforts. The 359 families who were eligible for and enrolled in the county's program as of May 23rd were eligible for assistance from our program. 91% of those families submitted applications by the deadline. We engaged in extensive ongoing outreach in English and Spanish to all 359 families to encourage them to apply. These efforts included text messages, emails, flyer distribution, housing fairs, and phone calls. We also worked with Logan Heights Community Development Corporation to assist with outreach. This slide shows the 243 families who have received some form of financial assistance from the Housing Commission as of September 10th and the types of assistance they received. Families eligible for assistance through our program have until September 30th either to secure stable housing to receive short-term rental assistance or to choose lump sum direct financial assistance. We will not have final financial numbers until after the program closes out in October. However, based on our reviews of applications and the funds we have dispersed so far, we are projecting that we will expend approximately $6.9 million to assist displaced families by the conclusion of our program. This includes the amounts we have dispersed for the types of payments shown on this slide, as well as short-term rental assistance we have committed to pay through March of 2025. That amount is estimated at more than $583,000 as of September 10th. Our anticipated expenditures also include $660,000 for our contract with the Harvey Family Foundation for housing restoration assistance. This will enable homeowners to rehabilitate damaged homes and restabilize families into their homes. We also have contracted with Logan Heights Community Development Corporation and budgeted $250,000 to assist displaced families through April with light touch case management and supportive services. These are intended to assist these families as their short-term rental assistance through this program ends next spring. Our projections at this time suggest that we may have approximately $370,000 to $430,000 remaining and available after we have assisted the eligible families who applied. As I mentioned, we will not know for certain if funds remain available, and if so, what amount until sometime in late October. If funds remain, we will consult with City Council members on options to fully utilize any remaining available resources for eligible City of San Diego families.
This slide shows the status of the applications we received as of September 4th. In addition to the 243 families who have received assistance, 42 families are pre-approved for assistance. 290 city families from the County Emergency Temporary Lodging Program families reported to us that they have stable housing as of September 10th. These include families who received financial assistance from the Housing Commission, those who were pending assistance, and families who did not apply for assistance but spoke to us during our outreach efforts. We anticipate receiving additional housing status updates from the remaining families at the time of financial assistance awards. Our flood recovery program has also provided housing search assistance for eligible displaced families who may have needed to find a new home. The data for this component of our program are shown on this slide. Here you can see the outcomes through September 10th for the Housing Restoration Program contracted with Harvey Family Foundation. We know the past several months since the floods have been difficult for the affected families. Our staff has worked diligently to assist these families through our initial emergency short-term lodging efforts before the county's program started, and more recently through this flood recovery program. We thank the council for your allocation of funding, your engagement in these efforts, and your support for the program and for these families.
I also have an update for you on our affordable housing preservation efforts. In July, we began holding stakeholder meetings to receive feedback on a draft affordable housing preservation ordinance that will be coming to the council for consideration. These stakeholder meetings are continuing with dates scheduled through October. We are also holding a webinar for members of the public to provide input. That will occur October 15th at 6 p.m. The details about how to participate in the webinar, including the Zoom link, are available on our website at www.sdhc.org. We have identified more than 5,600 housing units in the city with affordability restrictions set to expire by 2034. Of those, 1,368 units are considered high priority because it is highly likely that their affordability restrictions will end. The other units are considered medium or low priority because of factors that suggest their affordability is more likely to continue based on the regions shown on this slide. The provisions of the draft ordinance seek to ensure housing opportunities for very low, low, and moderate income households are not permanently removed from the housing stock. The draft ordinance is intended to expand on the rights granted through state law. The creation of an affordable housing preservation ordinance was one of 7 actions that City Council approved in October 2020 to implement a strategy for affordable housing preservation. In my report to you in January, I shared information about the launch of a new program to train young adults with low income for careers in the healthcare field. This is a program that also is under Azucena's leadership in her role overseeing workforce development at the Commission. The Healthcare Career Catalyst for Young Adults program is an initiative in our Achievement Academy. A 2-year, $604,000 grant from Previs Foundation funds the program. It provides certified medical assistance training and life skills support at no cost to eligible young adults in the city between the ages of 18 and 26 who have low income. The Housing Commission's Achievement Academy partners with the Western Medical Training Center and the International Rescue Committee's Center for Economic Opportunity on this program. Last month, the first 17 students to complete the program celebrated their graduation at our offices. We anticipate being able to serve approximately 60 more students or 3 more cohorts through this grant. I was able to join these students for their graduation, and healthcare in our community has a brighter future with these certified medical assistants like these young adults. I have to share, it was a really moving experience to see how excited these young adults were, how excited and supportive their family was, and also how very engaged and connected they were to our staff. The sort of relationships and bond between our staff members and these students as they moved through this 6-month process was really clear and a reminder of why we do what we do. It was really wonderful and heartwarming to see it. They truly are on their way to a life-changing and meaningful career where their new skill sets and their clear kindness will positively impact people's lives. Finally, last month, the Housing Commission completed our acquisition of the property we now refer to as Presidio Palms. This was an extended stay hotel property that will be converting into 161 affordable rental housing units with supportive services for people experiencing homelessness. We anticipate rehabilitation of the property will begin in late October and will be completed for residents to move in by spring of next year. Presidio Palms is one of the properties for which the state awarded Home Key funds to support the creation of these housing units. Since Home Key started in 2020, the state has awarded more than $105 million to the Housing Commission and in its collaboration with the city and the county to create more than 600 affordable housing units for people experiencing homelessness. With the purchase of Presidio Palms, more than 550 of those units are at properties the Housing Commission now owns. Leadership and support from Mayor Gloria, Council President Elo Rivera, and the entire City Council, as well as the County of San Diego Board of Supervisors, has been essential to bring forward the matching dollars and political will to move this forward. We thank you very much for your support and are excited about this new project. This concludes our report. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. All right, let's hear public comment, please.
Thank you, Council President. Starting with Joyce Anyata, if you can please come forward. It'll have a minute and a half.
Thank you, City Clerk Fuentes. Minute and a half?
Yes.
Oh, Lordy, Lordy. Joyce Anyata, District 3. I'll speak on your update later. Part 2, reality of the homeless crisis. At San Diego Housing Commission board meeting last Friday, a heart-wrenching discussion took place on the housing crisis. Chair Mitchell was moved to tears, as I am sure others in the room were too. From me, let us feel the enormity of the crisis, and if needed, let us cry. Please. Number 2, let us look at the reality straight in the eyes and face it. Number 3, then with kindness, go into the situation and do our best, which in my opinion is what we have been doing all these past years. We're doing our best. Please believe that. Everybody in this city, please believe we're doing our best. One step at a time is moving us forward. And Executive Director Jones and your team, you're fabulous. And I just love oh God, I got to hurry up here, folks. I love the preservation. Yay, I've been working on that for years. And I love everything you said. Just keep it up.
Thank you for that concluding comment.
Okay? Love to you all.
Swanson. After that, if I can have Dr. Terry Hoskins, Judith Banks, Jacqueline Marshall, and Jessica Calix, if you can all come forward to the front row if you'd like to speak on HA1.
Hello, San Diego City Council. I am here to advocate for any and all remaining funds from the San Diego Flood Recovery Program to be made available to as many flood survivors as possible. I'm Aaron Swan. I'm a flood relief volunteer, and almost every time that I go out to muck at a house, I encounter more flood survivors that were not in the ETL program, flood survivors that were not eligible for this relief. There are elderly people, there are single parents, there are renters, there are homeowners, and they just keep stacking up. So I would also advocate for any discretionary funds that this council has available to fund more flood relief. We as a city haven't done enough. We haven't done enough for flood survivors. And while I appreciate everybody's efforts, San Diego Housing Commission's efforts, we haven't done enough. And we need to do more. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Terry Hoskins. You have time ceded to you by Danny Avitia. You'll have 3 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council. My name is Terry Hoskins. I'm a resident of District 9 and also running for City Council for District 9. I went to a meeting at the Jackie Robinson YMCA over a month and a half ago where the city was supposed to be presenting a presentation on ADUs and JADUs. To my surprise, when I got there, they were actually dovetailing on a meeting that takes place weekly. And it's a weekly flood victims update meeting. I was surprised then as what I am now of all them, because I try to make it weekly, is that of all these meetings I've attended, no one from the San Diego Housing Commission has been there. No one from the Housing Authority has been there. Of all the organizations that do attend this meeting, and I'm just going to name a couple, the Harvey Foundation House, VOAB, they do so with a loving and caring heart. You can see it, you can feel it. If people can see it, they can feel it. Yet the biggest void is from the San Diego Housing Commission, which Housing Authority governed. Truthfully, the San Diego Housing Commission has made a complete mess of the hotel voucher system. You can ask the victims, their utilization of FEMA, and basically disenfranchising hundreds and hundreds of victims who still don't have answers and are just stuck in red tape. So I asked you to please take a look at this. At a minimum, at least have a San Diego Housing Commission representative attend these meetings. Good God, that's simple. If we consider, I haven't seen them there. So again, I have not seen them there. If we consider all the restricted money that FEMA and unrestricted money that the city has given the Housing Commission, it kind of smells, if I was a victim, it smelled like corruption to me. It really would. They need answers, and they're just stuck in red tape. Thank you.
Next is Judith Banks.
Good afternoon.
Judith
I'm
Banks.
just here to say that the people that were not helped from the Housing Commission, they left the hotel because they were given a deadline. I just stayed. And the reason why now that they left because they were told to leave, now they're not being helped. So we need to figure out a way to help these people that are suffering because they obeyed the law and left the hotel. It's not their fault. We were given deadlines, but in the meantime, most of us had no place to go. We need to fix this problem of all of these people that were considered ineligible because they left early, because they were told to leave. Help us. That's all that we're asking for, is help us fix this problem. We don't want to be called victims. We want to be called survivors. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jacqueline Marshall.
To continue with what she's saying, we have a lot of people that still haven't gotten to their homes, and they were in the hotel. I was there, but I was back in my home. But it's some that had to leave. They had children that had, mental problems where they couldn't be around people. They had to leave. And just because they left before May 25th or something, now they couldn't get the help. So they're struggling. I had a friend that had to take her camper and park it in front of ECC for a few days because she didn't have the money. But she was in, the program, but she left early. And so if you guys can in any way, help people like that. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Jessica Calix.
Hi, my name is Jessica Calix, and I'm a flood survivor. So I was in the ETL program. Every time you were booked a hotel, it was like 2-3 weeks at a time with checkout dates. There was no guarantee of any extension or long-term or anything like that. The only reason extensions happen is because community members came to meetings and advocated, and very last minute, things got rebooked. By then, my kid had said, enough is enough. I don't want to deal with these hotels anymore. That have human trafficking going on and all this crazy stuff. It was not safe. We didn't like it. We left. So because I was not in on May 23rd, I don't qualify for any flood assistance. And so that's the number that's missing from the presentation. How many flood survivors are there in the city of San Diego total? regardless of the ETL program. Because there's people that never even knew the ETL program existed, right? 1,300 households countywide were affected. The majority of those were in the city of San Diego. So how many of those survivors were never in the ETL program? And how many of those survivors were in the ETL program, but were not present on that date? And what is the justification for only helping people on that date? Where are the minutes? Where's the data? Nobody asked me, are you okay? I'm still displaced. I am not in permanent housing, my child and I. Like, we've had a lot of help, but none of it has come from the city. I've gotten $0. I've gotten zero help. I got an email saying, contact Catholic Charity. Housing Commission literally told me that. And Lisa has been to meetings. She said, we are aware. We just don't have enough money for everybody.
Thank you for that concluding comment. Lori Saldana.
Thought you were giving us a heads up. Sorry for the long walk. Since this report also deals with shelters, I just wanted to go back to a state law that went into effect regarding reporting on the conditions of shelters. It requires cities and counties to report on the conditions of shelters. And we are not getting those reports. We are not seeing them. So it's not unusual, sadly. It's actually true throughout California. Of all of the counties, 58 counties, very few of them are providing these reports. I don't know if the audit committee could take a look at that, but it's difficult. You cannot improve what you don't measure. And if you're not measuring outcomes, and the Housing Commission has a dashboard, and it shows people coming in, thousands of people going into the shelter system, and over half of them consistently leave and are not accounted for. But I'm more concerned not about the departures. I'm concerned about the conditions when they're in those shelters. I have submitted many Public Record Act requests regarding repairs being done at Golden Hall Shelter. Some of them, one I submitted, I'm not joking, 3.5 years ago, and I'm still not getting full reports about the conditions of shelters managed by the Alpha Project. The reports I'm sent are years and years old, and they have things like tuberculosis outbreaks and contaminated drinking water. So please provide reports on conditions of shelters. It's not only state law, it's basic human rights to know what's going on in those shelters.
Thank you. Michael Rios is our next speaker, and then after that, Crystal Adriana Ramirez.
Hello, Michael Rios. I just want to thank the City Council, the County Board of Supervisors, and Housing Commission for the little bit of help that they have done. People need more. I would have left the hotel before May 23rd of the mistreatment of the hotels, of not getting toilet paper towels, the filthiness of the hotels, and just different things, Equus, how they treated us, the threats. I would have left early. I stayed into the hotel until the end because I had spine surgery on June 11th. So I had no choice. I was ready to sleep in my car because of the mistreatment of the hotels and the Equus. So I stayed in because I knew I had surgery coming up of spine surgery and I needed a place to recover. So if I didn't stay in, which I didn't want to stay in, I would have never got the help from the Housing Commission. I wouldn't have qualified. But I did get the help. I got the lump sum payment. I'm back in my apartment 2 weeks ago. I'm the third unit out of 20 something units in my apartment complex that were finished in 8 months, which is horrible. The money that was allocated to the Housing Commission was for everybody in the flood, not just people that was in the hotel till May 23rd. All my neighbors, a lot of people that don't qualify, they should qualify. They were part of the flood. This money wasn't for ETL participants. It was for flood survivors. So it's either the city needs to give the Housing Commission more money to be able to assist everybody, not just the ones that were forced to stay in the hotel for different reasons.
Thank you for that concluding comment. Crystal or Cristal?
Good afternoon, City Council meetings. Well, I appreciate this opportunity because I'd like to show you all. I don't know how many of you have actually been to Shelltown. If I'm not mistaken, it's been 0 of you. So this is Vivian, I never saw you there. I'm sorry. I saw you shaking your head. I'm sorry. Um, but okay, this is my parents' home. They have been homeowners for over 30 years, and they had to watch, not only watch, they had to build up the ruins from their entire livelihood, entire. Can you imagine that? Losing absolutely everything. Yeah, I don't think you can imagine something like that because it was honestly horrible. It was. And I'm not here standing up as a victim because no, I survived this. I actually was swimming when the water was this level to me. My sister, a hero, Anna Isabel Ramirez, which you should know as a hero of Shelltown, she went in to save 3 adults and 1 baby. This is a name you should know because she was a hero. While there was firemen standing there answering unnecessary, endless questions, full body suited, my sister was in there water deep. So the fact that we haven't received the help that we deserve is disgusting.
Thank you for
Sorry.
that
And but
concluding
thank
comment.
you for the support that you have provided until now, but there's a heavy lack of
Your time
representation
has
and
concluded.
leadership and responsibility. And I've been making all the emails I have to. I spoke.
Thank you, ma'am, but your time
requested to
has
speak with
concluded.
Mayor
I have
Todd
to be
Gloria,
fair
and
to
he
all
rejected my
speakers.
request.
I do have to be fair to all speakers. My apologies. Thank you so much. If you have any written comments, you can submit those. We are now going to those, starting the 5-minute timer, going to those participating remotely. Catherine Rhodes, if you can please unmute. Catherine Rhodes, there you go.
Hi, this is Catherine Rhodes, and what I wanted to talk about, especially for Lisa Jones of the San Diego Housing Commission, is to remind her because of Derek's H at Liberty Station NTC and the California Coastal Commission's approval of the project through the Coastal Act, that we can put homeless people in Mission Bay, including South Shore parking lot, as Councilmember Jen Campbell requested of the Housing Commission back in the day. We could put them in Fiesta Island. We could put them in Deanza Cove. But one of the places I would like you to look at is Silver Strand State Park. Silver Strand State Park has 1,000 spaces that are available now. I'm not sure if that means that you can have 2,000 people there, but there's 1,000 spaces. So I'm sure you could have at least 2,000 homeless people to be housed at that location. They have bathrooms. It's right across from a bus stop where they could have access to the bus. So my request is for the San Diego Housing Commission to look at all the places along Mission Bay and then also in Silver Strand. And you could get money from the County of San Diego's federal ARPA funds, which they still have like about $350 million left over. So please look into that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the original. If you can please unmute.
How sad is it to hear, people that were just abiding by, oh, you got to get out of the hotel. Oh, wait, if you get out of the hotel, you're not eligible for whatever help it is. I don't know what kind of eligibility crap you guys are pulling here, but if they were involved in the storm, that should be enough eligibility to, get help. But obviously you're not doing what you need to be doing. And it's sad to think about how the illegal immigrants were at Cesar Chavez Park. And then when they had to leave there, it was like, boom, instantly, they got to get into housing. So why is that? Why are these people suffering since January? And you're telling people they're not eligible? Maybe those places that you put those illegal immigrants into should have gone to the flood victims. Instead, you're telling them they're not eligible because they were listening to what they were told. So it's very negligent that you are continuing down this path. And it's like, are these people ever going to be able to pick up the pieces? Or are they just going to continue to be told that there's not enough help or that they're not eligible? And you don't talk about the full numbers. You just talk about the ones that you're pretending to help, but there's people being left behind, and that's absolutely atrocious because none of you are suffering like them. And maybe you need to, just so that you can see what it's like, so you don't do this again. Because you guys sit up there on your dais and you act like you're so superior. All these people are suffering, and all you do is silence them.
Your time has concluded. Next is John Brady. If you can please unmute.
Hi, John Brady here again. I remember saying in front of this council, this was what the future of homelessness is going to look like. These people, many of them are going to become homeless. And unfortunately, the best we can do is not going to overcome that. It's clear that we are suffering from a torrent of challenges right now, including people behaving unethically. And I will add this, that the unit that I visited, the housing provider was wise enough not to raise the cost of Section 8 vouchers because the Housing Commission has put its foot down on excessive increases. So they only did it to those that did not have that protection. Clearly in this market, we need more protection. We need to stop the inflow of people becoming homeless in our system, and we need to get people in more stable housing. I have members that have been placed into housing, and the increases, the fake utility charges that have been created, these companies are creating their own utility organization so that they can raise the cost of utilities and therefore make more profit. This has got to stop. Thank you.
Next is Blair Beekman. If you can please unmute.
Hi, Mr. Beekman. Thank you a lot for this item. I guess first of all, just very much of a thank you for this item, and thank you for the public comment following. I think I'm getting a sense, hopefully, that San Diego city government is wanting this item on your public agenda to clear the air and get some feedback and understanding where things are at. And you're getting some good feedback, important feedback today. So I hope it can be taken really to heart, and it's a good effort from everyone today in this item being here today. Thank you again for it. I know I originally wanted to speak a public comment about the city of Oakland having these same sort of issues with their home key programs, and when hotel spaces aren't the health standards aren't doing very well. Look into Oakland's efforts in having to work to clean up their home key programs. Same with San Jose when mistakes are happening and good practices aren't happening. Good luck at looking at San Jose and Oakland for remedying the issues and problem solving. Thanks a lot again for this item, and good luck to the work to everyone to really improve upon a really sad situation of the January flood. Thanks.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Ms. Maxwell. If you can please unmute.
Good afternoon, Francine Maxwell, Southeastern San Diego resident. I want to make sure that to make the taxpayers happy, that there's a forensic audit. We have people that will never be able to get over their trauma. There's people with PTSD, and we know that there's a nice chunk of people that need help. We know that the Harvey Foundation needs unrestricted funds so that people that have fallen through the cracks, that were not captured in the database, in any report, that are sleeping in their car, sleeping at the beach, we too still want to help them in the city of San Diego, where we are all together and trying to get people through this. So if we could make sure that we stop just for a moment and do a forensic audit so that we can have a paper trail of the money that some people have said, and then we need to be able to prove. Again, the Harvey Foundation needs unrestricted funds so that people that have not been helped can get helped without restriction. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. That does conclude public comment for this item.
All right, thank you so much. We'll now open it up to council member questions, comments. No motion needed here, obviously, just an information item. And we will begin with council member Von Wilper.
Thank you as always for the update. It's great that you are here so often. Thank you so much for the communication you give on this incredibly hard day. Hearing from seniors who are being priced out of their homes is never something that we want to hear, especially as we put so much money and effort into preventing homelessness. I would welcome your assistance as we're reaching out to Chelsea to discuss what's going on with the property we heard about today at Fairbanks Square. We did know that rent increases were coming because Chelsea had notified the Housing Commission, but they assured us that they would not make anyone homeless, and it sounds like that assurance is falling flat. So I'd love to chat with you more about what we can do going forward to put pressure on this company to not put seniors out in the street.
We share your concerns and frankly, as long as the rents fall within the state guidelines, our only response is the same pleading that the residents are providing, which is, can you please find another way to do this? Can you slow down your process? Can you reduce the amount? Because we went in with the same concerns. Azucena spent a great deal of time with their senior vice president of asset management and also I think with ConAm as well. And I met with one of their leadership as well. So we are happy to join any of those conversations and support both yours and the council's advocacy in mitigating impacts to residents who cannot just go out and increase their income.
Oh, got it. Thank you. I appreciate you very much. We will be in touch. We've already been in touch with someone from Chelsea today to set this up. And on another note, I'm always glad to see when we are working on a hotel or motel acquisition to convert to permanent affordable housing. And I really would love to see more of that up in District 5. I don't know if there is a motel association or the tourism authority who could help us reach out to see if there's anybody who might want to be selling their property and interested in this program. So however we can get the word out to folks, I would welcome more of these successful projects like the Tizon project in District 5. So we'll follow up, but thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Von Wilpert. Lisa Azucena, thank you for the update. I just have a few questions here. I think I appreciated the presentation. I know there was a lot of focus on and to be justified concern in initially just seeing the amount of money that had been dispersed. And there's a fair level of urgency in the community to get those dollars out the door, right? And so making sure that we're explaining what is dispersed versus what is committed versus what is projected to go to folks is really important. We don't want to give something away that someone is counting on for a later date. So I just want to make sure I understand correctly what was demonstrated in the presentation. When we're talking about what's projected out, in other words, someone's requested ongoing support rather than the lump sum payment, and we are factoring in how much it would cost to provide those monthly payments for the duration of the program. Is that accurate?
Yes, so one of the components in the financial assistance program is a short-term rental assistance where families can access up to 2 months worth of security deposit, financial allotment to pay for temporary hotel assistance as they wait for their unit to become readily available, moving costs, storage fees, application fees, and also 6 months worth of rental assistance subsidy. So as families enter into stable housing, we begin to make the rent payments. However, we are obligated to make rent payments through March of 2025. And as we conclude that program, it could be as late as April, maybe even May of 2025.
So just to kind of really bring that down to a granular level, if someone's opted into that particular form of assistance and has yet to secure an apartment, we're still holding that money for them, correct?
We are projecting in our anticipated $6.9 million worth of expenditures, an allotment of families who have pre-selected the short-term rental assistance and how much that's going to cost.
So and that would be the 6 months plus the 2 months move-in.
Correct.
Okay. I think that part's important because in that situation, we can be talking $15,000 to $20,000, right, for one particular household that we're holding on to because we want to make sure that they have what they need. I drilled down on that because multiple things can be true at once, where we need to do more. There are still folks struggling, and I know you all know that. And you all are are making sure that you're not allocating resources to someone today that someone's depending on for tomorrow, and setting up false expectations that something will be there that they're depending on. This is a matter of needing to grow the pie. We absolutely need to do that. I will continue to believe that is the case. I do think that there is a role to play for philanthropy. I think there's a clearer lane to fill now. I think through Councilmember Foster's leadership and Councilmember Moreno's leadership in partnership with you all, there's been we've now defined a group that has received support, and we know that there's a defined group that continues to need support. And so the folks who are here advocating, I totally agree that you shouldn't have to be advocating here, this long after a disaster. And this is part of the slow and very frustrating process of identifying kind of one at a time who needs help first, and then trying our best to get the help to them, and then identify additional resources to get help to the next folks. Again, I recognize that it's not fast enough, and this is all very frustrating. The last thing that I wanted to kind of touch on, because frustration is completely understandable. Anger is completely understandable. Making things up is not. And again, while we can have multiple things true at the same time, I do want to clear one part up. The Housing Commission staff has worked incredibly hard since the very beginning. That does not mean that this has been without missteps. I want to recognize that. But Lisa's sat in the Jackie Robinson YMCA and personally assisted in enrolling folks and trying to find homes for people and get people into hotel rooms. And so what I won't have happen is that for political purposes, whether it's a lack of capacity to understand facts or a desire to politicize other people's tragedy, I'm not going to have the work of the Housing Commission staff diminished in the way that I heard earlier today. So because we are the housing authority and the CEO does report to us, I want to make sure that it's clear that Lisa's done her job. They've gone above and beyond. And I don't want, again, what appears to be either a lack of capacity or a pretty cynical attempt of politicization to in any way undermine the efforts of Lisa, Azucena, and the other folks that I watched work so hard since January, and who already had an impossible job before that. Just want to note that. Thank you as always for the work that you're doing. If we could, I know that the program is fully subscribed. Senior Safe at Home is an incredibly important program that I know you all are playing a role in partnership with the Lucky Duck Foundation and serving seniors. It would be good to get that information even easier, even to make it even easier for folks to access, so that folks can apply and we know that the need is there, and we continue to push to increase funding for that program in a way to meet the need that is out there.
Absolutely. And we can get a banner updated on our website about both Senior Safe at Home and the Housing Instability Prevention Program. I will say, just from an enormity of the problem issue, and this is just the developer that we talked about earlier today, where we heard from residents, has about 3,300 units around across the city. That doesn't include the rest of the county. Right now, our Housing Instability Prevention Program serves about 300 households annually. So just when you see that there's a big difference between need and resource, and obviously from a developer that we work with standpoint, we want to have a conversation to get these folks to a safer place rather than have funding that could go to other folks that are not in affordable housing already, go there, right? So it's a big conversation to have. The Senior Safe at Home, I think, is around 50 households annually right now. So we are very grateful for the additional funding that came through the council budget this year. We are now ramping up to enroll new households again and keep that program running. And we're having some conversations, to your point, with philanthropy around what other resources we can bring to bear. So it is our goal, through whether it's through philanthropy, federal or state funds, to build on top of the funds that the city has committed year over year for the last 3 years and try to grow that program to reach more folks.
Thank you, Lisa. All right, seeing no, Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Council President. Lisa, thank you for the presentation and even for answering to that a little bit. I imagine for most of us sitting up here, our minds are spinning in terms of recognizing our limited resources to address a number of the challenges that have been brought up in some cases for those who are storm survivors that this is not a new thing. But I think on the affordable housing front, especially impacting seniors, what might be helpful at some point, and this is really just a request to your team, is maybe getting a better understanding of what we're anticipating coming down the pike in terms of state legislation. I understand that there's a bill on the governor's desk. I was just looking at it and really struggled to understand the time frame in which they might be anticipating addressing the potential limitations on rent increases on affordable units on a state level. Didn't seem to have hard numbers. So I think understanding what we might expect from a timeline standpoint might help us determine, what kinds of resources and measures are available at a local level. Might also help if you're seeking philanthropy support, because in some cases, what I'm going to hope that we're seeking is to provide opportunities to bridge a gap for needs that we see right now, even as state efforts might be underway. Because we are always facing this challenge that we don't have the resources to address the reality that for every senior in affordable housing unit who is facing rent increases, also means that there are seniors in general every single day who are facing rent increases as well on fixed incomes. And so just would ask if there's an opportunity to maybe get an understanding of this in a way that might equip us to help move forward.
Absolutely. We can follow up with an analysis and a memo to council that kind of shares the status of that legislation, what it could potentially mean. We may not have all the answers right away because it does provide some level of flexibility to sort of TCAC, state tax credits, to make some certain decisions within that bill structure. But we are happy to bring something forward that either through a memo or otherwise that provides information to council and identifies potential areas for additional advocacy at a state level.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Lee. Lisa, I think that was the first acronym that you used. So, well done. Councilor Foster.
Yes, thank you, Council President, and thank you, Lisa and your team for everything that you've done thus far. I know we are in constant communication on what we can do better. And one thing I will say, and I'm not sure how we get all the appropriate agencies in a room, but I do think there needs to be a true comprehensive look as to the dollars that we are spending overall when it comes to homelessness, and determining based on outcomes what truly is successful and working and what's not, and look at potentially how we can shift resources to those programs that are really showing significance in regards to returns. Because I have to think if we can increase the stabilization type programs, that at least starts to take care of the numbers we hear in regards to the variance of folks coming out of homelessness versus folks going into homelessness. And I think we need to look at, I kind of feel based on the conversations we have that we tend to treat homelessness as a monolithic type scenario and I think we just need to shift and look at what is truly working and what we can do to stabilize things. The other issue that I would like to bring up and just thank you for everything with the flood victims. I know it has been a slow and challenging process. Just even coming to an understanding as we had the $7 million and what was in the county's portion and all of the requirements and things that went along with those dollars, and trying our best to marry the two to where we could facilitate and service the impacted families. I am eager to see in regards to the potential balance that may be left, but I would encourage you to start looking at and any recommendations and seeing how we can put those dollars to good use, and also have the conversations about mitigating the what I'll say, for the lack of a better term, stringent type of requirements or eligibility type requirements so we can better serve the community as a whole. Also, as always, we go through our typical budget monitoring process. I would ask the IBA to, as you always do, please closely watch how our budget progresses, and identifying any potential funds that may be available to help our flood impacted folks as we continue on. So again, thank you for everything you do. I know it's a very tough situation. I will say that flood impacted families continue to be a high priority for myself. And also just want to give a big thank you to the Harvey Family Foundation and all of their partners who helped with the response team and their continued support with the families. Also, I did see Armand Harvey, who did fall ill. And so just would ask everyone to keep him in your prayers as he is trying to recover because he did fall quite ill. And quite honestly, he's been working. And I'm sure his body is beat down and feeling the results of that. Please keep the family in your prayers. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Foster. All right, I don't see any additional requests to make comments or ask questions. Lisa here. That will bring us to the end of our Housing Authority agenda. Lisa Azucena, thank you. Appreciate it as always. We will adjourn the Housing Authority and reconvene as the council. Clerk, if you'd please introduce item S500.
Thank you, Council President. Informational item S500 is informational item regarding the fiscal year 2024 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, the CAPER for U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD programs. If you'd like to speak to this item, please submit a speaker slip at the high lectern, or if you are participating remotely, please be sure to raise your hand by pressing the raise your hand icon or *9.
All right, once our presenters are ready, please introduce yourselves to the record and let us know which time you'd like for this presentation.
Good afternoon, Honorable Council President Ella Rivera and members of the council. My name is Melissa Villalpando, and I'm a Community Development Coordinator with the Economic Development Department. With me today presenting is Nadine Hassoun, a Community Development Specialist also with the Economic Development Department. It is our pleasure to provide you with a brief overview of the draft fiscal year 24 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, otherwise known as the CAPER. We respectfully request 18 minutes for this presentation.
Please proceed.
The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD, requires local jurisdictions to prepare the CAPER to continue to receive entitlement grant funds. The CAPER is a year-end report discussing the expenditures and outcomes of the fiscal year. It shows HUD how the city is doing what it said it would do. The CAPER summarizes activities implemented with 3 federal entitlement grant programs: Community Development Block Grants, also known as CDBG, Home Investment Partnerships, also known as HOME, and Emergency Solution Grants, also known as ESG. The report covers the July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024 timeline, which is year 5, the final year of the current 5-year consolidated plan cycle. Our presentation today will highlight FY24 expenditures, accomplishments, and progress made on the goals outlined in the city's 5-year consolidated plan. This slide lists the 5-year consolidated plan goals. These goals help guide the investment of HUD entitlement funds with a focus on affordable housing, homelessness services and shelters, small businesses, workforce development, public facilities, and nonprofit facility improvements. In FY24, the city continued its partnership with the San Diego Housing Commission and the County of San Diego to implement certain HUD program activities. The Housing Commission administered the ESG and home programs on behalf of the city, and the county has been designated as the city's alternative HOPWA grantee. HOPWA is the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS program. As a result of this alternative grantee designation, HOPWA activities will be reported by the county and its CAPER and will not appear in the city's CAPER or this presentation. During the fiscal year 2024, the city partnered with over 50 nonprofit organizations to support 131 unique projects. The city invested in over $28 million in federal HUD program funds to support these unique projects and completed the 47 projects discussed in aggregate in the CAPER. Outcomes include serving over 46,700 people 318 households, 219 businesses, improving 2 nonprofit facilities, and improving 1 public facility. When we report people served, we count individuals benefiting from the direct services offered by our nonprofit partners. Income, household size, and race and ethnicity information are collected for each individual, and these demographics are reported to HUD. These are unduplicated clients, meaning the clients are counted only once during the course of a contract term. For example, a meal delivery program would count a person served when the first meal is delivered. That person could receive hundreds of meals throughout the course of a 12-month program, but they would only be counted once. We also count people served by certain facilities such as parks or community centers with defined service areas. An important note to keep in mind, many additional projects have been completed since the release of the draft fiscal year 2024 keeper for docketing, but due to timing and processing, they will not be transitioned to the completed activities tables until the final keeper release for submittal to HUD. To include a project as closed in the keeper, not only must the activities be completed, demographics be reported, and final reimbursements paid to the subrecipient, but the final draw from the federal IDIS system must be completed so the project can be closed in both the city's SAP system and the federal IDIS system. The Economic Department works diligently with the Department of Finance throughout August and September to close out projects so accomplishments can be reported to HUD by the September 28th deadline. I'll now spend a few minutes highlighting the FY24 achievements for each of the consolidated plan goals. To begin, the consolidated plan includes a goal of investing in affordable housing options that reflect community needs. The affordable housing goal is funded with CDBG and home funds. In fiscal year 2024, 64 households benefited from the construction of new affordable rental housing. One example is Amanecer Apartments, pictured on this slide. The developer received $1.5 million in home funds to construct 11 home units in a 95 apartment community for low-income households. There is a variety of studio 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments serving households at 30 to 60% of the area median income in Council District 7. Another example is Milejo Village, pictured on the left. The developer received $2.5 million in home funds to support 15 home units in a 64 apartment community in Council District 8 for individuals and families experiencing homelessness with income up to 25% of San Diego's area median income. Harris Family Senior Residence, shown in the middle, received $1.75 million in home funds to construct 11 home units in a 5-story transit-oriented affordable rental community located in the Kensington Talmadge neighborhood in Council District 9, serving seniors with income of 40 to 60% of San Diego's area median income. Antizone Apartments, pictured on the right, received $4 million in home funds that were used to convert a formal hotel into affordable rental apartments serving seniors with an income of 40 to 60% of San Diego's area median income. This building was formerly the Rancho Bernardo Hotel and is located in Council District 5. It includes 175 affordable units. This slide lists the 5-year goals, FY 2024 outcomes, and progress to date for the affordable housing activities. I'll pause a moment so you can take in this information. Thank you. HUD-funded homelessness programs are administered in partnership with the city's Homelessness Strategies and Solutions Department and the San Diego Housing Commission. This supports Goal 2, assist with stable housing. CDBG and emergency solution grants totaling roughly $3.4 million were used to support a variety of projects impacting the lives of over 7,100 individuals experiencing homelessness or at risk of homelessness. CDBG and ESG-funded overnight shelter operation activities served over 12,000 people in fiscal year 2024. And ESG-funded tenant-based rental assistant activities served 142 households in fiscal year 2024. The goals, outcomes, and progress to date for the activities related to providing assistance with stable housing are listed on this slide. Again, I'll pause just a moment so you can take in the information. Thank you. Another goal of the consolidated plan is to develop and strengthen small businesses and local entrepreneurs. Using CDBG funds, economic development projects supported 219 small businesses and 357 low and moderate income entrepreneurs. This support includes micro enterprise technical assistance, offering general business support, business plan development, and marketing assistance to launch or expand businesses with 5 or fewer employees. Accessity, for example, provided City of San Diego residents with technical assistance and access to capital services to establish or expand a micro enterprise. Accessity provided technical assistance to 46 clients, 31 of which received loans between $300,000 and $100,000. The 31 loans to fiscal year 2024 CDBG clients created 11 jobs and maintained 70 jobs, 81 jobs in all, which benefited the city's communities. 2 other micro enterprise programs include the City Heights CDC Micro Enterprise Success Program on the left, which supported low to moderate income entrepreneurs by offering services customized to the needs of the client and included but were not limited to business concept evaluation, competitive market analysis, and licensing and permitting assistance. City Heights CDC also hosted various events such as the Cambodian, Thai, and Laos New Year celebrations, San Diego Street Food Fest, and a winter extravaganza, and more. These events provided an opportunity for program participants to generate extra income and gain exposure to bigger audiences. Participants reported an increase in their business revenue. Also, the Somali Family Service of San Diego Micro Enterprise Program on the right created economic opportunity by providing technical assistance and training workshops to eligible Elamite East African refugees and immigrants in the City Heights neighborhood to establish or expand micro enterprise businesses in the city of San Diego. This slide lists the goals, outcomes, and progress to date for small businesses and local entrepreneurs. In fiscal year 2024, there were no job outcomes as no job creating activities were funded. And I will now pause a moment and then pass it over to Nadine, who will go over the remaining goals and additional information. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Throughout fiscal year 2024, the city also supported employment training and workforce development programs. One example is the Workshop for Warriors Student Computers program. This program provided advanced manufacturing training to low-income veterans, wounded warriors, and transitioning service members located in San Diego to assist them in securing gainful civilian employment in the manufacturing industry. The training is accelerated, and what would normally take years of schooling is compressed into 16-week training sessions. This slide shows the goals, outcomes, and progress to date for small business and local entrepreneur activities. Slide. The goal, outcomes, and progress to date for the employment and workforce development activities are listed on this slide. Another consolidated plan goal focuses on strengthening neighborhoods by investing in critical public facilities and infrastructure. One example of this is the construction of sidewalk on Elm Avenue between 14th Street and Thermal Avenue. This new infrastructure improves pedestrian access to nearby schools and shops, which encourages walking as an alternative mode of transportation. Based on the population and income levels of the neighboring residential census tracts, it's estimated that these improvements will impact approximately 5,000 low to moderate income individuals. The $250,000 investment of CDBG funds leverage approximately $918,000 from other funding sources. The goals, outcomes, and progress to date for the public facilities and infrastructure activities are listed on this slide. Because city infrastructure projects can take 24 months or longer to complete, outcomes for fiscal year 24 funded projects may not be reported until fiscal year 2025 or beyond. The next consolidated plan goal is related to public services or community services that promote equity and serve vulnerable populations. 16 public service projects were completed in FY24, benefiting over 13,000 people. Projects supported with CARES Act funds were required to provide specific services meant to prevent, prepare for, or respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. Types of public services in FY24 include behavioral health, meal delivery services, food distribution and hosted senior lunches, language assistance, and educational advocacy for children in the juvenile dependency system. One example is the Ocean Discovery Institute out-of-school programs, which provided access to new and expanded after-school and summer science education and mentoring programs exclusively for youth in the underserved community of City Heights to support their academic achievement and increase their opportunity to gain entry into the STEM fields. Other examples of community services projects include Bayside Community Services, their senior programs and services program shown on the left side of the screen provided weekly food distributions to food insecure families, case management, daily lunches for seniors, and monthly food distributions to homebound seniors in Linda Vista and nearby communities. Shown on the right is Wesley House Supportive Student Services Program, which offers low-income, full-time, college and university students resources on financial literacy, career development, mental and wellness health, food pantry access, and case management by a trained social worker to ensure academic excellence and successful graduation. The goals, outcomes, and progress to date for community service activities are listed on this slide. The final consolidated plan goal we'll discuss relates to financing impactful nonprofit facility improvements. 2 nonprofit facility projects were completed in FY24, totaling over $1 million in nonprofit facility improvements. One example of this is the Family Health Centers of San Diego Diamond Neighborhoods Remodel Project. This project added 7 new exam rooms and interior renovations to the working stations and lobby, replacing a sink, overhead sprinkle, and equipment needed to provide primary care to patients. The heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system was replaced and upgraded to provide more capacity to meet increased demand and expand access for low-income San Diegans. This photo is of the newly constructed office in the front lobby, which did not exist before. On the right of the slide, you can see the completed HVAC improvements by Urban Core completed at their main building. The facility improvement included the installation of 14 new water source heat pumps with air purifiers, 5 fans, and 7 new UV light air purifiers that prevent the lack of airflow in these buildings. It also replaced the central cooling tower and boiler in the main building. These facilities are being used by young adults who are unable to complete their high school education due to their immigration status, language barrier, or homelessness. This upgrade brings an opportunity for these students to complete their high school education, career advancement opportunities, and job placement in San Diego. The goals, outcomes, and progress to date of the nonprofit facility activities are listed on this slide. Economic Development Department staff engaged in a number of administrative efforts in FY24 to ensure the delivery of quality programs. These efforts included conducting 1,194 programmatic and fiscal desk audits, in addition to construction site visits and remote monitoring. Also, to increase the capacity of nonprofit organizations, community development staff held over 60 technical assistance meetings with nonprofit organizations to better position these organizations to receive grant awards and deliver valuable services. And finally, the city, in partnership with the Legal Aid Society, made strides to affirmatively further fair housing by operating a fair housing hotline, investigating fair housing complaints, and conducting workshops and training sessions for homebuyers, tenants, property managers, landlords, and nonprofit agencies. In FY24, both the city and the Housing Commission were instrumental in providing leadership for the planning and successful delivery of the San Diego Regional Alliance for Fair Housing's annual Fair Housing Conference. The 2024 theme was Fair Housing, Leveling the Playing Field. I'd also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the commitment and energy of Consolidated Plan Advisory Board members. The city achieves its goals with the assistance of its dedicated partners, and we thank the board members in each of our partner organizations for helping to address the most urgent needs in San Diego's communities. This also includes a special thanks to the 14-person HUD Grants Program team in the Economic Development Department and our fiscal operations colleagues. The draft CAPER was released for a 15-day public comment period that started on September 3rd. The last day for public comment is tomorrow, September 18th. The CAPER was presented to the ED&IR Committee on September 4 and to the Consolidated Plan Advisory Board on September 11. These were additional opportunities to receive public comments on the document. All public comments received during today's meeting at ED&IR and at the CPAB meeting will be incorporated into the final draft of the CAPER before it is submitted to HUD on or before September 28th. Staff responses to all public comments will also be published at that time. Once the CAPER is finalized, supplemental materials such as the infographic shown on this screen will be provided online at the CDBG webpage. And that concludes our informational presentation on the draft CAPER. No action is required. Representatives from the Housing Commission and the Economic Development Department are available to respond to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's hear public comment, please.
Thank you, Council President. We have Joyce Oñata. If you can please come forward. After that, we have Nao Kabushima. If you can please start coming up to the front row in the reserved seats. You'll have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you, Joyce Oñata, District 3. It's hard to believe I filled out a slip in opposition of this, and it surprised myself. And I didn't really have time to look at this deeply, but I didn't need to really. I have a lot of experience with this. It goes way back. It was bumpy. When I first came on board, we had a very bad relationship with HUD. And that kind of got me rolling. And I remember one year I spent hours doing my public comments for the report, turning them in. And they really didn't mean anything, it turns out. And somebody said to me, Joy, why are you spending this much time on this item? It's not needed because it's a technicality. The form is not even really looked at by HUD. They have certain little places they look at, but basically it's just a perfunctory thing. And this is somebody that I really respected. So fast forward, great job. You were so good in those 15 minutes, or, you know, it's a lot of work. And I'm not against the guts of what this is. I'm kind of against what's happening with us in HUD. And what's truly happening between the Housing Commission, the vouchers, HUD, with the state of California. I know this is federal, but you know, the state's still mad at us on housing. The oversight is still in process of us. They want us to have regional jurisdiction, collaboration. So I just want more of something to come out of this. It was a good report, but did it really grab you, or did you feel passionate about housing or something? I'm sorry about the opposition. You know, I love you, and it's good work, and I do like the guts of it, and so there you go. Love to all, thanks.
Now, Nao? Nao? Okay, we'll go to those participating remotely, starting with phone number ending in 8813. If you can please unmute. For S500. Oh, it's still in the box. Please start.
Can you hear me?
Hold on one
Hello?
second. We'll be coming back to you. You'll have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you. And I appreciate the report. I don't appreciate the timing of it. It really hasn't given us a lot of opportunities to view this. And there are some specific issues that I wanted to bring forward. And while Jennifer pulls those up, let me just say that there's been concerns recently about grant funding and contracting not going to the communities that reflect the diversity in the city of San Diego. And sadly, what we see is that many of these grants go disproportionately to Black households. And I think that's the reality of homelessness in San Diego, that we have a disproportionate number of Black families losing housing. And Jennifer, if you could go to the next slide. Unfortunately, what we see in terms of how grants money is allocated to contractors, the numbers are pretty dismal. There were 55 subcontracts for over $65 million. One of those, for 1% of that $65 million, went to a contractor that was Hispanic owned. The remaining 54, totaling almost $65 million, all went to contractors who identified as white, non-Hispanic owned businesses. Now, this has been headline news recently. Is San Diego allocating these funds in an equitable way? And I think the numbers speak for themselves. So again, I appreciate they're being measured. I appreciate there's being documented, but the outcomes are dismal. And if we go back, I know I said another slide, but I'll just leave it at these two. If we look at the disproportionate homelessness in our Black community, and then we look at numbers like this of where these millions of dollars of contracts are going, I think maybe it's not a cause, maybe it's not correlation, but I think San Diego needs to do much, much better. Thank you.
Thank you. My apologies. I've started the 5-minute timer. Now we're going to 8813. *6, please unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Okay, great. Thank you. Consuelo here. And yeah, I just wanted to state that yet with everything that Lori Saldana just stated, that the people continue believing and supporting this reckless local government. Such a shame. And also what the presenter stated when she said that the city addresses the most urgent needs of the community. That was just a flat out lie. And another reminder, government is a disease masquerading as its own cure. I hope that sinks in. That's all I wrote.
That concludes your comments?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Now, if you can please unmute.
Hi, you can hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Great, thank you. My name is Nao Kawashima. I'm Executive Director of the Karen Organization of San Diego, serving refugees from Burma, resettled here in San Diego. More than 2,000 refugees from Burma have been resettled over the past 15 years, and 95% of them live in the city of San Diego, and most of them are in City Heights in District 9. Our refugee micro-enterprise support project has been supported by the CDBG funding over the past 4 years, and last fiscal year alone, we served more than 50 individuals who are current micro-business owners or who are working hard to become micro-business owners. And almost all of them are extreme or very low income resident based on the hard income limit. And we had almost 700 individual session in 2024 to work directly with these individuals to work on their business startup plan, expansion plan, budgeting, grant loan applications, county house permit, business licensing, and all other navigations and internet interpretation support. And there are many great services and programs and funding opportunity to support small and micro business owners in San Diego, but only if you can find those opportunities, and then only if you can attend those program training and apply for the funding without language and navigation support. And ours and many other CDBG clients would never know those opportunities and resources without the support provided by the CDBG funding organization like us. And there are many, many people like that in our city. Those are who are not familiar with the system, who have a serious language barriers, digital literacy barriers, and CDBG program allow our community to dream about becoming small business owners and support their family and dream about contributing to the city's growth as small and micro business owners. And it's all about the future of this community. So thank you so much for your support for this CDBG program. Thank you.
Thank you for that concluding comment. Next is Catherine Rhodes. If you can please unmute.
Hello, this is Catherine Rhodes. What I want to remind you guys is that we only have $30 million left from the original $240 million in the HUD OIG audit debt from 2010. That means in a couple of years, all the probably 2 more years, all the extra money that we receive for HUD for these programs is not going to be there anymore unless you actually solve the problem. And so there's 2 problems. The first one was in 2010 when this came in. It was actually Carl DeMaio and Donna Fry together made sure that we could still have that 7% compound interest. So we have never received on the ROP spreadsheet for the successor agency, the 7% compound interest from the original 240 million since 2009. That would give us probably at least an additional like $200-300 million more that could be put into this pot of debt so that we can have this extra program income for years to come. And so that was, 15 years ago of not giving us the compound interest. And that's part of the justice that we've never totally received. And the other part of the justice is the 10,000 single room occupancy units that were destroyed in the redevelopment agency, that if you had an agreement with HUD, and I literally called up HUD and said, what can we do to get these on? They said, well, you just have to come up with an agreement with us, write us and tell us why, why you should have these 10,000 affordable housing units there. And we could write up an agreement saying that we agree with you. So they're willing to do anything you want to do. You have to actually ask for it. But so far, not one single person here has asked for the 7% compound interest or asked for the 10,000 SROs that were destroyed to be put back in place, because you're not allowed to build all these luxury. And remember, this was all because the city
Your
stole.
time has concluded. The original, if you can please unmute.
Consuelo was right. Government is a disease masquerading as a cure. You guys are a disease masquerading as a cure, and that's what happens all the time. And it's funny because, yeah, you did say that you do address most urgent needs in the communities. That is absolutely not true. That isn't, because people are still suffering, even from the storm and all of that. And it doesn't matter how much affordable housing you want to invest in. Is it really affordable if these people are suffering and having their rents raised on a continual basis because landlords are finding loopholes so that they can charge more? So, I mean, you act like, well, it's out of our hands. We created the housing. It doesn't really matter if it stays affordable. And it's very sad to see that. And the fact that there isn't really any oversight or transparency with what really goes on, because on the surface, this looks good. But if you think about how many homes are needed, in the over 100,000 of them, then you're not doing that great. And you're not really helping that many people. And that's what happens. People will be on this list for a very long time, for decades at a time, and just continue to wait. And then you do services and community services, and it's funny who you list first. And it tells who your allegiance is with first, because it says that it's for immigrants, refugees, and then you go into veterans, disabled, yada, 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 right? But it's like you're actually giving illegal immigrants carte blanche to the housing that the people in our community actually need, and to the services. There are people digging out of trash cans to get food, but you're providing these services for people who cross the border illegally because you mix them up with the refugees and the immigrants. You just don't say when they came or how they came. It's very disturbing to see where your allegiance lies.
Your time has concluded. Next, and our final speaker is Crystal Ramirez. Crystal, I can't unmute for you. There should be a pop-up that comes up. And Crystal, I've given you time to unmute. You have not unmuted. So that does conclude public comment for item S500.
All right, thank you so much, Clerk. We'll begin council's discussion of this item with Council Member Whitburn.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank the Economic Development Department for its administration and its oversight of these federal dollars. This funding has a significant impact here in District 3. So many people are worried about the cost of living and particularly the cost of housing. Millions of this HUD funding is helping to build the Harrington Heights and the Cortez Hill apartment complexes, both of which are 100% affordable housing. Those two complexes alone will provide a combined 358 rent-restricted affordable housing units downtown. The funding from HUD also helps us to provide emergency shelter to people experiencing homelessness at our bridge, at our family shelters, provides supportive services for residents through trusted services providers, including the San Diego LGBTQ Community Center, And of course, there's much more, but these dollars are a key resource, and I appreciate all the work that goes into administering this funding. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember Whitburn. I will also express the appreciation. I want to give a shout out to one of our District 9 community members now who called in and talked about some of the support that the Korean organization does with this funding. The Korean organizations does a fantastic job of connecting with a very underserved community, very underrepresented community, and making sure that they are provided not just like an opportunity to bring their needs forward, but to take action as well. So thank you now for calling in, and thank you for all your work. Very, very much appreciated. I do not see any additional requests to speak to this item. So I will say thank you again. And please introduce our next item.
Yes, before doing so, my apologies, I'm still getting used to it, but this item did receive 2 comments in favor and 0 comments in opposition via our e-comment form, which have been distributed to the council. Now, item 331 is the second city council hearing to make a final decision to overrule the airport land use commission determination of inconsistency and to approve a site development permit at 2345 Kettner Boulevard, project number 1107392, process 5 decision. In District 3, Subitem A requires 6 votes pursuant to California Public Utilities Code Section 21676 and 21676.5 and San Diego Municipal Code Section 132.1555. This item is not subject to the mayor's veto. If you'd like to speak on this item, please raise your hand by pressing star 9 with the raise your hand icon, or please submit a speaker slip to the high lectern. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. All right. Once our presenters are ready, please introduce yourselves for the record and let us know how much time you'd like for this presentation.
Good afternoon, Council President Ilo Rivera. I'm John Willett Glupos, Development Project Manager for the Urban Innovation Division, and I would like 5 minutes for the presentation.
Am I understanding correctly? You will be presenting, and then there are some comments from the applicant as well?
That's correct. They are here to present.
Okay. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Council President and Council members. I'm Willett Glupos, Development Project Manager for the Urban Innovation Division and the Development Services Division. We have James Alexander, a Development Project Manager for the Urban Innovation Division as well. This item before you today is being presented to you for the second time. The first hearing was held on July 16th, and Council voted unanimously to propose to overrule the determination of consistency and directed staff to send the notice of proposed decision to overrule to 3 agencies per the Municipal Code Section 132.1555. These agencies were notified on July 23rd, 2024, and have had the opportunity to provide input. This second City Council hearing is the final step in the overrule process. Per the California Public Utilities Code and San Diego Municipal Code, City Council has the authority to overrule the ALX determination. A decision to overrule requires 2 public hearings. The first City Council hearing is a proposed decision to overrule. It is then sent to outside agencies to solicit comments. They have 30 days to provide comments. Finally, no sooner than 45 days from the date the proposed decision to overrule is provided to these agencies, a second City Council hearing is held for a final decision on the overrule, which is what is here before today. And this decision requires a 2/3 vote of the council. As a reminder, the project site is located in the northern Little Italy, just west of I-5 and south of the airport. It is important to note that this subject site is within an airport overlay zone, Zone 2E, Little Italy, which restrict the maximum land use and intensity. The proposal is for a deviation from the requirements of Safety Zone 2E that would raise the number of hotel rooms by 28 rooms, increase the ancillary uses by 5.6%, and allow restaurant and office uses in conjunction with hotel uses. The intensity of the proposed block is 39 people less than the average of surrounding blocks. Therefore, the proposal is compatible with the land use intensity of the surrounding existing uses. As directed in the first City Council meeting, staff has reviewed the applicant's calculation and verified their accuracy. In addition, in response to the question raised by Council Member LaCava, the calculations that have been provided are intended to demonstrate that the proposed intensity of the site is consistent with the existing intensity of the surrounding neighborhood in its current state. The Caltrans Airport Land Use Planning Handbook states that the airport compatibility plans apply to the area surrounding this airport as a whole. Therefore, to be consistent with the handbook and in order to provide a fuller picture of the state of the surrounding neighborhood, the calculation was used by staff and the applicant was not limited to within the bounds of the same safety zone only, which is consistent with how previous overrules were processed. In response to the notice of proposed decision to overrule, Caltrans provided an advisory letter on August 15th, concurring with the ALEC's determination that the land use deviation from the land use intensity limit is inconsistent with the San Diego International Airport land use compatible plan. However, staff maintains that there is sufficient evidence to support the findings as outlined in the resolution. Since the last City Council hearing on August 29, 2024, Planning Commission considered the Process 5 site development permit and voted 5-0 to recommend City Council to overrule the consistency determination. As a reminder, earlier this year, on February 21st, 2024, it was heard by the Community Planning Group and they voted unanimously to propose the overrule. The municipal code provides 3 findings to grant an overrule, as listed in this slide. Staff made the findings to support the overrule, which you will see in the resolution attached to your agenda packet. The 3 findings are that the proposed development will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare. The second is the proposed development will minimize the public's exposure to excessive noise and safety hazard to the extent feasible. And last, the proposed development will meet the purpose and intent of the California Public Utilities Code, Section 21670. In addition, it must also be supported by the site development permit finding, which includes that the proposed development will not adversely affect the applicable land use plan. The proposed development will not be detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare. And third, the proposed development will comply with the regulations of the Land Development Code, including allowable deviations. A full explanation of the findings are included in your agenda. Last slide, staff, based on the ALEC overall findings and the SDB findings, staff recommends council to approve a resolution for a final decision to overrule the ALEC determination of inconsistency and a resolution for the site development permit number 326729 to overrule the determination of inconsistency with the ALUCP for the San Diego International Airport. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you so much for the presentation. We will now invite the applicant up for any comments or presentation you'd like to provide.
Thank you, Council President Shani Rivera, Marcela Escobar with Atlantis Group representing CH Consortium Holdings. I just would like to thank you for this opportunity to be before you again. As you now know, this is our 3rd hearing, our 2nd before you, 1 before Planning Commission. We've had unanimous support from the community and everybody in the neighborhood. We'd like to thank staff for their due diligence on everything, and we're just here to respond to any questions that you might have. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. I believe that brings us to public comment. Please proceed, clerk.
One of ours was Marcela Escobar X. She's already presented, so we have Manny Rodriguez. You'll receive 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, City Council. Thank you for your time today. I'm Manny Rodriguez, the chair of the Downtown Community Planning Council here in that capacity, and we unanimously voted to support the project and the proposed overrule. We largely agree with the applicant's interpretation that this project is a donut hole in terms of the surrounding intensities. And the Downtown Community Planning Council strongly believe that this is a responsible development for the area. Little Italy is also a neighborhood that's vibrant and desires to grow, and we believe it should be allowed to grow in a reasonable limit. And we see this project as a reasonable growth for the neighborhood that will be safe. So thank you. The Downtown Community Planning Council is composed of residents, businesses, and community organizations, and we request your support on this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Start the 5-minute timer going to those participating remotely, starting with phone number ending in 8813. If you can please press *6 to unmute. 8813. *6. You've lowered your hand but have not unmuted. I will move on. The original, if you can please unmute.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the things that you guys do with, overruling and overriding different determinations and whatever it is, even inconsistencies, to approve this site development permit. Little Italy is quite packed a lot of the time. I mean, and you're talking about more growth. And so it's a wonder how, that's going to look after you bring this in. What's it going to be like? There's already no parking. There's already, and actually Consuelo unmuted. So if you could go back to her after I'm finished, there was just some kind of technical difficulty, but she was ready to speak. That would be great. But, just to see what happens after there's more development and growth in that area. Because, during the COVID era and when you were forcing everybody to put in these outdoor patios and whatnot, it took up all the parking. So, are you going to be expecting that people are just going to want to walk within that area and not ever want to drive anywhere and not have any kind of cars? It's just, interesting to see how you guys want to put everything so densely populated. Like, we're going to be living in Manhattan by the time you're done, and you don't even have the kind of transportation infrastructure like they do. Like in New York, you don't want to drive anywhere, but you're making it that way in every place because, you want to get us out of our cars and we got to be in our little 15-minute city. But there's, you don't have a subway and all of these things that make it really easy to get around. And it actually makes it a lot more difficult. But again, if you live within, 2 minutes of something and that's the only space that you're going to be walking around or whatever, then it's fine. But for the people that actually go and enjoy that area, it's going to make it a lot worse. And the businesses are probably going to lose a lot of money.
Your time has concluded, as has the public comment period. We did go to all speakers. They were not able to unmute properly. There were no technical issues on our side. That concludes public comment on item 331.
Right. Thank you so much. With that, that brings us to the beginning of council discussion of the item. We'll begin with Councilmember Whitmer.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you to the Development Services Department for the presentation. I will again today make the motion to approve the staff recommendation. Appreciated the unanimous support by my colleagues for this item the last time we heard it. This has been done before, as was mentioned before, in Bankers Hill and Little Italy. The density, as we saw, of the other properties surrounding this area is already higher than the proposed density that we're talking about here. Appreciate the Downtown Community Planning Council as well as the Planning Commission for reviewing the item. As was mentioned, both bodies unanimously supported this. And of course, I appreciate staff's evaluation of this site as well. So this recommendation is consistent and reasonable, and I'm looking forward to another great addition to Little Italy. Again, I'll move the staff recommendation. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember Whitburn. Councilmember Von Wilpert.
Thank you. I'm happy to second the motion. Based on the comments I made at the earlier hearing, this is an override that is appropriate given the surrounding densities. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we've got a motion from Councilmember Whitburn, seconded by Councilmember Von Wilpert. I don't see any additional requests to speak to this item. Clerk, please call the roll.
I have started the voting system. Please capture your vote. That passes unanimously with Council Districts 1 and 2 absent.
Okay, thank you. We have two adjournments in memory today. We will hear first from Councilmember Von Wilper.
Thank you. Today, I'd like to take a moment to honor Gary Kaufman, who passed away on August 1st, 2024. Today, September 17th, would have been Gary's 70th birthday. Gary, like his mother, Eileen Kaufman, was a longtime dedicated volunteer in Rancho Bernardo, and like his sister, Robin Kaufman, who has been deeply involved in our community. Gary dedicated much of his time to the llama rescue and was an active member of the Washington State Animal Response Team, training people how to rescue large animals. It is important to recognize the hard work of community members like Gary who quietly serve and strengthen our communities in our city. His contributions represent the very best of what it means to be engaged and involved, and his efforts have left a lasting impact on our city. Gary's dedication and service will be missed, but his memory and legacy will live on in the hearts of those he has helped. Our thoughts are with his family during this time, and we're grateful for the example he set in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Von Wilper. All right, with that, we will now turn to Councilmember Moreno.
Today, I ask that the City Council adjourn in the memory of Ms. Emma del Pilar Porras. Emma del Pilar Porras passed away on September 3rd, 2024 in San Diego, surrounded by several family members, including her loving daughters. Born on November 1st, 1932 in the Philippines to Agustin and Virginia del Pilar, Emma was the oldest of 8 children. Although she came from humble beginnings, she lived a remarkable life filled with love, resilience, and devotion to her family and community. Growing up during the turbulence of World War II, Emma and her family fled to the mountains to escape the Japanese occupation. Despite these hardships, Emma began honoring her skills in sewing and cooking at a young age, talents that would carry her through her life. In 1956, she earned her Bachelor's of Science degree in education, majoring in home economics with a minor in library science from the Philippines Women's College. On September 16, 1956, Emma married U.S. Navy serviceman Mr. Max Porras, becoming Miss Emma Porras. They welcomed their first child, Jane, on June 14, 1957. Over the years, Emma became affectionately known as Grandma, Oma, or Lola to her growing family. In 1958, Emma left the Philippines in search of a better life and moved to the United States, eventually settling permanently in San Diego in 1967, which was a courageous decision as she was unfamiliar with American culture and knew very few people. As a military wife to United States Navy's Senior Chief Petty Officer Max Porras, Emma made significant contributions to her country by supporting her husband and raising their 5 children, often staying home for months at a time alone while Mr. Porras was deployed at sea. Emma was a resourceful mother of 5, working tirelessly to ensure her children were well cared for. She sewed and repaired their clothes, baked birthday cakes, and created budget-friendly yet delicious meals. As her children grew, Emma took on various jobs to supplement the family income. She sold Avon products, taught at a Catholic school, sewed garments at a clothing factory, taught cake making, and worked in electronic assembly before retiring. Emma cherished her time cooking for family and friends and played mahjong, enjoyed trips to the casino, traveled with her husband and family, and spending time with her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She was also a founding and standing member of the Kahirap Club of San Diego. I'm going to need a little bit extra time here, where she built lifelong friendships. Emma was a loving, caring, and devoted wife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. She instilled the importance of family values and faith in God, in her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, leaving a lasting legacy across 3 generations. Emma is survived by her sister, Miss Editha Jurisprudencia of the Philippines, and her 5 children, Jane, John, Cheryl, Max, Junior, and Michelle. She also leaves behind 14 grandchildren and 18 great-grandchildren. Emma is also survived by numerous nieces and nephews. Her warmth, love of the family, and spirit will always be cherished and remembered by her family and everyone who knew her. We give our most heartfelt condolences to the Porras family during this very difficult time. We know that Emma will be greatly missed. God bless.
Thank you for that, Councilmember Moreno. With that, we will now adjourn to the next regularly scheduled council meeting on Monday, September 23rd, 2024 at 10 a.m. Thank you, everyone.